What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading, back at it again with another crypto market update. Today we've got Solana, Sui, and Aptos. I'm sure you're all wondering what these cryptos are up to. Why are they crashing? How low are they going to go? When are they going to recover? How high are they going to go? If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of these cryptos. Your analysis could be different, and honestly, guys, if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion we have, the better traders, the better investors we're all going to become. With that being said, guys, let's jump straight into it here. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about all this FUD around Solana. Basically, there was like a botched meme coin launch. I'm not going to get too much into the details. I'll just give you a quick TLDR. Basically, Javier Milei, the president of Argentina, allegedly or supposedly or whatever, was involved in a meme coin launch of a meme coin called Libra. And it didn't go very well, and this kind of exposed that there was like a cabal of let's say crypto influencers and crypto projects that were kind of like potentially allegedly facilitating these kind of like pump and dumps of these like big meme coins, and that this even ties in potentially to the Trump meme coin and the Melania meme coin. And in my opinion, guys, people are kind of, they're making a big deal out of nothing, in my opinion. At least as it relates to Solana. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure, like, I know that some people did some really bad stuff and all those people are going to get in trouble, but as far as Solana goes, it's like, it's like the same thing. Like, if there's a crypto project or like some meme coins on Ethereum, it doesn't make any sense that you would say, okay, well, now Ethereum is over. Yes, in Solana's case, it's a little bit different because a lot of the demand for Sol was coming from meme coins. But even then, guys, like Solana isn't just about meme coins. There's lots of crypto projects on Solana, and they've been building out, or rather preparing for like a second wave, I would say, of like DePIN, and they're also kind of pivoting towards crypto payments. And this is something that's been happening for a few months now. So it's a little bit surprising to me that everyone is just really going crazy. I do think that this is mainly a result of the fact that there was a pretty sharp drop in Sol's price, and of course, as always, that has people looking for reasons, and I guess reasons to be bearish, and again, narrative following price. And everyone is saying, oh, because this meme coin fell, that means Solana is kind of dead and whatever, which is not true. I do think it'll be a headwind here in the short term, like just literally like over the next maybe couple of weeks max. But I do think that Sol will recover, and especially with all the people that were going short, I do think that Sol is going to recover from the current levels sooner than later. I guess this is where a little bit more explanation is needed. As you guys can see, I have here basically these same charts, or rather the same trend lines that I had been, or levels rather, that I had been tracking for the last few weeks here. But you'll notice there was an additional one that I added here. This is a trend line that I've been tracking more on a personal basis, like on my personal crypto analysis that I've been doing actually for members in the Coin Bureau Club. There's a trend line basically on Sol. Like, again, it's not drawn exactly, but basically there's a trend line on Solana that goes all the way back to March of last year, and you can see that it served as a pretty nice clear zone of support on the way down. Whenever Sol would see a really big crash like it is now, Sol would always hold this level. This level is currently around $165. Yes, there was a slight deviation below that. That's completely normal when there's liquidations and stuff like we saw yesterday. But this significant trend line here, again, which I've noted, you can see that it was tagged also in January and kind of also got tagged in December. And basically ever since Solana broke out last fall, it's been holding this trend line. So I don't think that Sol is going to go much lower from here. Could it go lower? I'm not saying that it's not going to go lower, but based on the technical analysis here, I don't think it's going to go much lower. This is not a systemic issue that is going to have a lasting impact on Sol. This is something that is isolated to a few crypto projects and a few influencers or whatever in Solana's ecosystem. So I do think that Sol will bounce here, especially with the short leverage. You could see a nice short squeeze getting back above the starting point, and it would basically turn this most recent move here to like another deviation, like basically below this key level, the same way that we saw deviations above that key level previously in November and in January. Again, like any chop within this range here, within these two levels, is completely normal for Sol or for any other crypto that we've been covering here. And I do think that Sol will get back above the starting point, probably honestly within the next 24 to 48 hours. That would not surprise me in the slightest. And then I do think that we're going to have to, again, start looking for that continued grind higher here to the $240 resistance level. And of course, to get the target, we're on the daily chart here, by the way, guys. To get the target there is very straightforward. We just take the difference between these two levels, which of course is $60. We add that difference to the resistance, and that would give us a target of $300. I still think that target is going to be hit. That is not the cycle top target for Solana. That is a short-term target that I think will be surpassed. I think it'll probably go to like 330 or something, but we're going to take things one step at a time. Long-winded way of saying is, yes, Sol is looking scary, but as the saying goes, buy when there's blood when there's blood in the streets. I'm not saying to buy, but I am saying that there's blood in the streets, let's say. And again, based on this trend line, it looks like Sol, I don't think it's going to go much lower from here. Could it see another temporary deviation below? Always possible, but I don't think that it'll be very long-lived. And of course, when in doubt, you can always zoom out here. And apologies if the chart looks a little bit messier here, but you can see, especially when you zoom out to the weekly, you can see that this trend line is just, it's beautiful, you know? It's worked very well. So long as Sol is holding this trend line on the weekly, I wouldn't stress it. It's possible it'll see temporary deviations below that on shorter term timeframes, but again, nothing to stress about in my opinion. I'm not stressed at all, and this is coming from someone who actually has some loans taken out against Sol as collateral, and I'm not stressing at all. I'm not worried in the slightest, to be honest. It's a crypto project that's much bigger than a couple of meme coins. Anyways, with that being said, guys, of course you might have noticed we're using Binance there, where we have a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 in bonuses. As I've been saying in every video, and as I'm going to continue saying, these trading fee discounts will help you out a lot. Even if you're just trading with a few hundred or a few $1,000s, those trading fees do add up. I know this from experience, so take advantage of those links used in the description. The exchange gets a new user, you get a trading fee discount, and we get a cut of those trading fees. That's how we make our money. We're not sponsored by Solana or Aptos or anyone here. We just basically offer deals. We don't care what crypto you like, so long as you want to buy, sell, or trade. We're here to help you out with that. And of course, we do have the Coin Bureau Club, where we do analysis into like up and coming altcoins, which I'll get to a little later in the video. Anyways, guys, moving on now to Sui. This is where things get interesting. Basically, Walrus is a decentralized storage protocol on Sui that just announced that they're going to be doing an airdrop, or rather, I guess they're moving in that direction. Specifically, they've given Walrus airdrop NFTs to eligible wallets. So if you do have a Sui wallet, do check that out. I actually checked one of my Sui wallets, and I did get one of these NFTs for something like, I don't know, like 800 or 900 of these wall tokens, which haven't been released yet. It's just they're just preparing for that. Shout out to Kevin, one of the researchers at the Coin Bureau. He's been on top of all these airdrops and everything, and basically from his research, there's no like specific criteria. So even if you've never done anything on Sui, if you just have Sui sitting in a wallet somewhere, it's possible that you have some basically airdrop allocations here. And I do think that this is something that's bringing attention to Sui's ecosystem. Honestly, guys, it reminds me a little bit, those of you who've been around for a couple of years, you might recall that there was lots of airdrops in Solana's ecosystem in like late 2023, I think it was. And this kind of reminds me it gives me like a similar vibe, let's say. Like, of course, I know it's just one crypto project in Sui's ecosystem that's doing this, at least for now. But it does, just for whatever reason, it reminds me of that kind of that late 2023 vibe, just before Sol started going vertical, or rather, I guess that was technically in late 2024. But anyways, like, yeah, basically, like, it just reminds me kind of like of this thing that it was those airdrops brought attention to the ecosystem, and then that attention brought like capital and investment. Then you ended up with like a huge up move. That's definitely what I'm getting the sense of with Sui, especially now that the sentiment around Solana is really bad. Where do you think those speculative traders, retail users who need a fast and low cost chain, where are they going to go next? I think the answer is Sui, especially now that it's integrated with the Phantom wallet. Anyways, guys, that brings me here to the charts, which again, like Sui, nothing really to report here. It's been chopping within these levels that, again, we've been tracking now for a few weeks. Sui, I do think, is going to get back up to the support level probably in the next couple of days, and then I do think it's going to be retesting that resistance of $4.4 by the end of the month. Once it gets above that level, and if you're someone who's trading, then of course that's the signal to potentially consider taking on a trade. I'm not advocating for doing that or not doing that, but if you're a trader and you want to be on the safe side, then anything above the 4.4 level is a good idea to start looking to go long. And of course, the upside there would be 45%, which you can juice up with a little bit of leverage. And yeah, guys, I do think that Sui is just, again, like most of the altcoins we've been covering here, the short-term price action can seem scary, but when you zoom out, even just on the daily chart, you can see that most cryptos have been chopping within this range. And I'll actually show you guys some alpha at the end of the video where you can actually very clearly see that this has been the case for most cryptos, not just Solana, not just Sui, not just Cardano from yesterday, right? All these cryptos have basically been chopping in this range. Occasionally there's a deviation below the range, occasionally there's a deviation above, but it has been trading within this range, and that is the case for most cryptos over the last few months, which is very frustrating, but it is is not bearish. Anyways, guys, that's a good segue here to Aptos, which is where things get very interesting. For those of you who don't know, Solana founder Anatoly Yakovenko actually once noted in an interview that he sees Aptos as the top competitor to Solana, which is really interesting because a lot of people assume that it's Sui, but apparently it's Aptos, and I can kind of see that in the sense that Aptos seems to be gearing also more towards crypto payments, which is what Solana has also been gearing towards. And there was basically, or rather, as I speak, there's a couple of announcements and stuff going on here in Hong Kong, specifically from Avery Ching, the CEO and co-founder of Aptos. The former CEO Mo Shaikh stepped down, which was like a huge bit of FUD. But I do think that Aptos still has legs, so to speak. And what's really interesting here is you can see that Aptos Labs posted a photo of course, Avery Ching doing a presentation here, bragging about how Aptos is the cheapest chain to move stablecoins around, and that's not a coincidence, I don't think, guys. That's I think what this kind of showcases again, and if you've been keeping up with these Aptos conferences and presentations, you'll see that a lot of them have focused around crypto payments. The supply of stablecoins on Aptos has been growing exponentially, specifically USDT, which is really fascinating because the growth of USDC has been exponential on Solana. So that kind of foreshadows like a head-to-head of like USDT payments on Aptos versus USDC payments on Solana. And I do think this is something that's going to materialize in the next couple of months, probably not in the next couple of weeks, probably the next month or two. Regardless, guys, Aptos does seem to be getting some traction. I do think that there is some percentage of people, similarly to Sui, there's some percentage of users and investors that will probably move to these Solana killers now that Solana's kind of in the, let's say, in a negative light. So they're going to look to these competitors, and I'm hoping that again, like, you know, the Aptos charge has been looking absolutely brutal, but I'm hoping that this kind of rotation out of Solana and into these quote unquote Solana killers will help kind of mark the bottom here for APT. And you can see that the price action we're seeing here actually looks very similar to the price action we saw in the fall, kind of like a grind down, double bottom, and then a recovery. I do think we're going to see a similar thing for APT here. It would not surprise me in the slightest if APT is back up to $8 by the end of the month. And once it's back at that starting point, that would be awesome, because then it'll get back within this range. I do think, you know, probably it'll chop within that range maybe for a month, possibly two, but eventually it will get above that range and it will be going for that $20 target. And again, that's not the cycle top. Same thing here for Sui. This is not the cycle top. This is a short-term target over the next few weeks. And similar case in for Aptos, maybe it'll take a little bit longer, you know, maybe a month or two. But I do think that that target will be hit and then it's going to surpass that target. And I do think that Aptos is going to see some, I think it's, again, I've been saying this now for weeks, but of all these three cryptos, I do think Aptos has the highest potential to surprise to the upside, just because the sentiment is even worse. You know, it's just like the worst of the three. And yet of the three, it's, you know, in terms of technology, in terms of speed, in terms of all these things, it's definitely up there. Like, it's on the same level, but just like the sentiment and the price is just like completely in the toilet. But again, the on-chain fundamentals, everything is looking awesome. And I do think that's going to reflect in APT's price eventually, right? You know, maybe not right away, but eventually these fundamentals catch up, because fundamentals make for very strong narratives, let's say. Anyways, guys, this brings me to the Coin Bureau Club, where this time around I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek, and I guess I'll give you a spoiler as well. What I'm going to be showcasing in a few seconds here is basically one of the research feed posts I did earlier today, which is explaining why, or rather, you know, how to know what, like, if crypto is still in a bull market, and it really depends on which crypto we're talking about. But when it comes to altcoins and Ethereum, which I'm sure is what most of you care about, this is very easy to tell by just zooming out to the monthly, and I'll actually start with Ethereum in this case. If you zoom out to the monthly on Ethereum, this is something I've been highlighting in other videos. You can see that Ethereum has held this Bollinger Band moving average on the monthly ever since the crypto market started recovering in 2023. Ethereum has been holding this level, and I do think it's going to continue to hold this level. And this is very important because most altcoins are correlated to Ethereum. This is for multiple reasons, including the fact that many altcoins with economic value are on the Ethereum blockchain, so they move closely with ETH. But the key point here being is that you need to watch this Bollinger Band moving average for Ethereum. It's actually the same case for Bitcoin. The Bollinger Band moving average, though, is around 60,000. So Bitcoin could still theoretically fall by like 30 or 40%, and it would still be in a bull market. But of course, that would drag down most of the crypto market, which would put the rest of the crypto market into bear market, which would be a really, I think, a wonky scenario. But all things considered, I do think that this level is going to hold. And this is very important when it comes to altcoins, which, of course, one of the ways you can measure altcoins is through the others chart. And you guys will notice here that there's a trend line that extends all the way back to 2017. And this is a trend line that, similarly to the Bollinger Band moving average for Ethereum, this lower trend line for others has held ever since the crypto market started recovering in 2023. This trend line is held. And just like we see with Solana, just like we see with Sui, just like we see with ADA, with most of these cryptos, they've all kind of been chopping in this range. And you can see this even clearer when you go to the monthly chart on others and you zoom out and you see, wow, like, yeah, it's basically been chopping for the last year. Altcoins have been chopping in this range. And this is, again, part of why things have been so frustrating. But again, it's not necessarily bearish. It's just it's a normal consolidation, kind of similar, honestly, to what we saw here potentially in the kind of first wave higher in early 2021. We could be basically seeing something similar here, where you're seeing a little bit of a chop within this range and then a blowout like above this level. I do think that this is what we're on the brink of seeing. And if you zoom out even more, guys, you can see that. And again, maybe I'll zoom in like here. You'll notice that it's a similar story, that between the 2017 bull market and the 2021 bull market, that there was basically like a grind lower, right? And then eventually it broke out of this kind of cup and handle bottoming pattern, and then it moved like exponentially higher. This is kind of what we're on the brink of seeing right here, right? Is that you have kind of like a grind lower, you have like kind of a little bit of a chop, and then you're going to see again a massive breakout higher. And I do think that this is something that will happen here in the next couple of months. And it's frustrating, but again, it's not bearish. Like, this price action looks pretty normal. Yes, some altcoins are looking a lot worse than others, but overall, altcoins have just been chopping within a range. And again, this is true for most altcoins. Rather, it's true for most altcoins with economic value. Smaller, more speculative altcoins, maybe not so much. Meme coins, definitely not. But regardless, guys, when you zoom out and like look at these charts of ETH and others, which again measures altcoins, and when you remember that most altcoins are correlated to ETH, you understand that, okay, we're closer to the lower end of this range here, but we still haven't broken below these key levels. And so long as these key levels hold, then ETH and altcoins by extension should be fine and should continue, at the very least, shopping within this range, which would be very frustrating. But hopefully we'll see an explosion to the upside, a break out of this range, and then by the summer or by the fall, my personal opinion is that we'll hit the cycle top sometime over the summer. But let's say by the summer or by the fall, that we would see the actual cycle tops being printed in there, kind of like you see here, like in the last cycle, you saw like basically 4 or 5 candle like explosion to the upside. I think we're going to see a similar thing here, 4 to 5 candles, 4 to 5 months of just like basically up only price action, which I think is going to be very neck snapping. But we'll have to wait and see and play things by ear. Of course, this is a trading channel. It's not necessarily a long-term forecasting channel, but I do hope that information helps. And if it did, guys, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.